Hi guys, happy Thursday. I'm excited you're here and that you want to talk all things planning social media content and getting, a month's worth of content done in 60 minutes because it is possible. It's super fun to do, especially if you love social media like I do. So just so you guys know, this is not actually something I originally came up with. I've heard a lot of other content creators do this, and so I just put like an author spin on it and kind of my own personal take on it. So let me just bring you on over to my desk and we'll get started. And before I do that, I just want to show you my whittle who's sitting here with me. Okay, let's do this. Alright guys, so I want to show you how to plan a month of content in 60 minutes. Okay, so this can work on any social media whatsoever, but I just want you to think of your preferred platform. So when I do this video, I'm going to think of my preferred platform, which is Instagram. So the first thing to ask yourself is, what social do you want to grow on? And I'm going to say Instagram. The second thing to ask yourself is, how often are you going to post each day? For example, on different platforms, you would post very different amounts of time. Like Facebook, they say typically you can do like 3 times a day. Twitter, you could do, I've heard a lot of different things, but like 6 times a day or even like 9 times a day. I don't know, don't quote me on that. I'm not a Twitter expert. But on Instagram, the best amount of time to post is actually once per day. So that's what I'm going to put as my goal. You could put once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever, but you need to commit to how often you're going to post and stick to that schedule. So write this down, okay? For everything, I want you to be answering your question. What social? How often? The next question is, what are your categories, okay? So this is something that you're going to do pretty much one time, and then in the months going forward, you probably won't change your categories. You probably won't change any of this, although you could. So it's good to get these 3 things solid. So for categories, I would say usually pick about 8 to 12 typically. This is not a required number, just so you know. I'm gonna put that here. The goal with the categories is that you're teaching your followers, the people who come follow you, what you're about. So if you put yourself into essentially a few boxes that people can say, oh, I know I'm gonna come follow this person because they give writing advice and they talk about their journey and their experiences, they're self-published maybe, or maybe they write fantasy. So these are the things that you're about that draw your followers, and you want to be very intentional about continuing to draw your followers all the time. So for example, let's say I have writing advice, my WIP, my published books. My writing process is definitely one for me. This is very specific to me, but Penny, aka my corgi, is definitely a category. I could also use a category like props, for example. Something like notebooks. My laptop would probably be considered a prop. So are my candles, my desk, writing mugs. I could even say mugs in general. You get the idea. So I have a kind of a set list of props, and I see my props as a category all on their own because people recognize me for those things. So I could say selfies because you should probably show your face once in a while. I would say Patreon is definitely a category now. So is YouTube, anything writing related, such as, for example, bookshelf. Okay, so these categories are kind of sloppy, and you can see how they all actually overlap, and I think that's actually what you want. You want to have things where it's like, I have a prop with my laptop, but it's also about my WIP, it's also about my writing process, and maybe I talk about how I help people with their writing process on Patreon or on YouTube, and of course all of that is writing related. So I picked 10 categories. These are kind of my general categories, although of course they change. And so just kind of get an idea for what you're about and actually write it out, because once you see it on paper, you're going to start realizing, oh, okay, that's what I'm about. And you really want to know what you're about, because if you don't know, how are your followers going to know? So this can change. People feel like these categories, or another word is niche, your niche can change over time, and you might, change your props and your WIP might change, but these are the things that your followers are coming to find you for, so you need to be really, really clear on what you're about. Otherwise, no one else is going to know what you're about. So once you know, and I'm gonna do say 10 things, because once you know these, you're going to divide and conquer. And that's just my word for saying, okay, how are you going to spread these categories out across the amount of days in the month? I'm gonna post once a day, so that equals 30 posts divided by 10 categories. That equals 3 posts per category. So you can see now how it's become really simple. I want to post 3 pictures for every single one of these things, and I want to talk about each of these things throughout the month. Then the next step, of course, is to space them out. So the idea is that you don't want to post, 3 WIP posts followed by 3 of your published books followed by, just everything all together and clumped together. You want to space them out. Of course, keep in mind that I break this rule all the time. I break all of these rules all the time because Instagram is not about being perfect. In the end, it's about having fun and being social. Keep that in mind, being social is huge. But for planning your content, it's just nice to have a starting point and a guideline. So that's my goal here, is to give you a starting point, which is to space them out. So for this step, I personally like to get out a calendar and just kind of see it visually on paper. There's also an app called the Preview app where you can, if you have the photos, you can actually move them around and place them and actually write your captions in there and get it ready to go. I'm not that advanced. I don't typically have all my photos, so I like to just have it written out. So for example, maybe I know that I want to do YouTube on Thursdays. Oops. I know that I always talk about YouTube on Thursdays, okay? And so, oops, now that's 3, but I have 5 Thursdays, so maybe I want to get more writing related, because that's my category, right? And then maybe one of my videos could be about my WIP, so technically it's in that category, and I'm just saying it's on YouTube in case you're curious. So then another thing that I know that happens a lot during the week is Teaser Tuesday. So Teaser Tuesday is usually about the WIP. So I've got one here. Let's space it out and put another one here. And then I could talk about, for Teaser Tuesday, which I should put here, I could put my published books. Okay, because why not do a teaser on the books you already have out? If you have books out, you should definitely still be talking about them. It's hard to do. I don't love doing it. I feel awkward doing it, but I also know that I get new people all the time who haven't heard about me, who don't know about my books, so I really want them to be aware. So I'm going to put them in there, and then maybe I'll space it out. So I'll put one over here. I just realized that's not super spaced out, but you get the idea. Maybe, I want to get super random and I just want to throw Penny in here, okay? There's my Penny category. And then maybe I want to talk about Patreon equally randomly. So let's start off the beginning of the month with Patreon and maybe end the month with Patreon, and then have somewhere in the middle I'll talk about Patreon as well, because I want it to be spaced out. I don't want to bombard people with it, but I do love that platform. I do offer really fun things, like for instance, this tutorial was on Patreon a long time ago, so if you guys are curious, then that's the place to go for more help with social media and whatnot. I love helping people there. I'm just able to give you more attention and more focused one-on-one time and answer questions. So, and also, of course, give you content based on what you vote for. But anyway, enough of that. Let's go into, just to show you an example, on Monday, I might want to do Monday motivation, so props. And actually, I completely forgot, but one of my favorite categories is actually quotes. So I might put quotes in there as well. And you know what? 3 is good enough for me, and I might put props here as well. So you might notice that things are filling up and you're like, okay, what's left? Well, I just realized that I have some writing related categories left, so maybe I want this to specifically be my bookshelf, which if you think about it is a bit of a prop. It's also a bit of my published books if my books are on the shelf, and hey, maybe Penny will be in the photo. So you can also say, oh hey, I would like to have a mix of both because I think Penny looks really cute with my books, or something like that. Oh, I forgot selfies. Okay, so Selfie Saturday is a thing, right? Let's throw in a couple selfies. Oh, I forgot about my writing advice category. Completely forgot about that. I do that all the time as well. All right, so you can see how I actually had a couple extra days and I kind of got lost on what I wanted to do, but I'm just giving you an example. I would be a lot more intentional about this if I were actually plotting out my week, and I would think, you know, what things are coming up, like YouTube videos, Teaser Tuesdays. There's a Thursday aesthetic. I don't know how to say that word, sorry. But there's a Thursday aesthetic and things like that, you know, Selfie Sunday or Selfie Saturday or Shelfie Saturday and Shelfie Sunday for your bookshelf. So look at the things that you can kind of figure out are kind of regular in your life. You could even have specifically 7 categories so that every single day of the week you're just rotating through your 7 categories, and just be flexible. Know that this is not set in stone, but this is going to automatically give you an idea of what to post, because all of a sudden you're coming into the week and you're thinking, oh, okay, today I'm going to talk about Patreon. And so the last step, the final step in this plan here, is to take as many photos in advance and write as many captions in advance as possible. If you can do this, you're going to set yourself up for success. You can even come back to that preview app that I talked about, which I'll put here, and you can start putting the photos that you have into place, organizing them. Preview app lets you rearrange and place them so that they look pretty next to each other, which is really fun. I am lazy and I forget to do this. I'm just like, you know what, give me a couple photos at a time. I kind of get an idea of what's coming up. Maybe if I know that I want to talk about my WIP, I start writing the caption for that and I put it in my email. And maybe if I know that I want to talk about YouTube, because I do film these videos in advance, I can start writing the caption for that as well. And so these things, for me personally, I tend to email to myself, but you could just write it in a notebook. You could write it. Instagram actually has a way that you can put the picture up, edit it, and then kind of write a little caption for it and save that picture. And as long as you don't delete your app, if you delete your app, it will go away. But as long as you don't delete your app, it will be there until you're ready to use it, which is really, really nice. And I've done that before as well. All right, you guys, so this is how I plan a month of content in 60 minutes. Once a month, I knock it all out. So let me just review really quick. Pick your social platform that you want to do, decide how often you want to post and commit to that. That's very important to commit to it. Figure out what your general categories are. What do you want to be known for on that social media? What are people going to come find you for and follow you for? Because this is super important to draw in your target audience. Then divide and conquer. Just figure out how many posts divided by your categories, and then you'll know how many posts per category. Space them out. Use a calendar or an app if you'd like, and take as many of those photos in advance. Write as many captions in advance as you possibly can. But in the end, just know that you can also be spontaneous, but this gives you that wiggle room so that maybe you have these photos planned out and you know generally what you want to do, but if you feel like being spontaneous on a day, then you can just move this to the next day or move it down into a different part of the month. You get the idea. This is gonna save you so much time, you guys. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up to support my channel if you did. I really appreciate you being here. I'm so glad that you guys like this kind of content. And again, this is the kind of stuff that I do over on Patreon all the time. So if you wanna check that out, the link will be in the description box below. And if you have any questions or you want more videos on things like Instagram and social media, let me know in the comments, because I love, love, love this topic. All right, I hope this helped you guys, and don't forget to subscribe. I will talk to you again next week. Bye.